What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to DriveTalkCars. My name is Ben, and today we're going to be going over a routine service that may or may not have had yet on your vehicle, but it's one that definitely will come up if you keep the vehicle long enough. And hopefully by showing you this, I'll be able to save you some money and kind of give you some insight on how to do this service. So I'm not a mechanic by any means, but I do like to do a lot of DIY projects on my vehicles just so I can gain the knowledge, save some money of course, and make sure that the job is done correctly. Today we will be replacing the alternator driving belt and the compressor driving belt. These parts are fairly inexpensive when you buy them yourself. Sometimes if you go to a shop, they may upcharge you. Dealership definitely go upcharge you. So these are definitely inexpensive parts, and the labor is not that much. So if you're pretty inclined with a wrench, screwdriver, and have a little bit of patience, then you can go ahead and get it done. The link to the parts and where I got them from will be in the description below, so check that out. And like I said, it's pretty simple procedure. Remove a few things to access the belts, and it shouldn't take too long. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start removing covers and all the plastic pieces that they use to try to cover up and protect or not protect, but to make it look more appealing. These things always scare me, but they put them on there so tight. You just gotta give it a little heave-ho. It will sound like you're breaking it, but you're not. Shit, I almost broke my ankle. So this was held on by these slocks. That's why it was so hard to get out. Set that to the side. Okay, so now the top part of the engine is revealed. Now we need to take off probably these air filter boxes and a few hoses. Then we have our belts right there. So we need to get access to that. So we're gonna remove this, move this, move the boxes, and move out that box. So let's get started. All right, so let's move this little piece here to get more access to the belts. You just held it and you just squeeze it. Put this stuff to the side. Take my filters out just so I don't mess them up. Might unscrew these so we can get a little bit more clay on this thing here. All right, so got one bolt off. Let's get the other one. When I'm doing a task and I don't want to drop something, I definitely don't use gloves because I need to be able to feel all the way. Well, I tell you, it's always the little things that cause the most or take the most time. It's very seldom it's the actual job. There we go. Thankfully, they're not tight, so they're like wrist tight. So once you break it, you can do it with your fingers. All right, got the second one. So now I should be able to pull this back like so. Don't want to pull too much. Do have these connectors, which I may release. Let's see. Don't know if I even need to take it off, but I might just leave it on. All right, I always recommend taking a picture, especially with belts because they loop between so many things. Take a picture of how it's laid out. And I don't mean just a mental picture, I mean mental and physical. right, so now try to make sure I can turn the crankshaft 32mm socket and attach to my wrench, and I have this bar for like an extension so I can get some more leverage since I don't have a long enough ratchet. And we're going to see if we can crank it. And you always want to go clockwise. You want to make sure that the lug nut is on there flush. Alright, so it seemed like I could turn it, try to find the best way to have the most leverage. That side is pretty tight. But like I said, you want to make sure that it's on the bolt, because you do not want to strip that. Alright, so with this tool, it allows for you to remove the belt. Remove side, and then it has an install side. Alright, so I've never used this tool. A lot of people cut the alternator belt. It's just easier, and then they put the new one on. But before I cut it, I wanted to make sure that everything was okay. This thing come with any instructions? Absolutely not. Maybe I have to go on Amazon to see how it works exactly. Alright, if you notice, there's the belt, alternator belt, and you see that shiny silver thing? That is actually the tool. Seems pretty easy. It's working pretty good. So it goes up underneath that belt, and as I rotate the engine, as I crank it, it's going to not turn it on, but as I rotate it, it is going to slide up underneath the belt, and then it's going to pull it. I don't know if you can see, it's going to pull it off to the side, thus pulling it off the pulley, and then I can take it off. So I just want to give you detail on it. So let me continue on. Alright, unscrewing these two bolts. They're 8mm. Gives you a little bit more space to pull this back. Every little inch counts when you're in tight spaces. Alright, so now got a little bit of wiggle room, a little bit more. Not much, but. So now got a little space to move even more. Alright, here's the first belt. Cut it. That tool didn't work the best for removing it. Hopefully it works better for taking it, for putting it on. So we got the alternator belt. Now we're going to do the compressor driving belt and then go from there. That one should be a little easier because it has a tension pulley to where you can release the tension and just slide the old belt off. Alright, the compressor driving belt is back on. Confirm that it is routed the way that it's supposed to be routed. And if so, then everything is good. Okay, now that we have serpentine belt on, serpentine or compressor driving belt on, now it is time to put the alternator belt on. Alright, so we have the alternator driving belt, and we're going to use our trusty tool again. Hopefully it works better than it did for the removal, but we're going to use the, let me see if I can get that angle right, install side of it. So it goes like this, and then the belt goes like this, and it'll rotate on. That's the ideal anyway as you crank it. Once again, I do not mean crank the engine, I mean crank it with the bolt. So just rotate it manually. Alright, we have it around the smaller pulley. Now we're going to put our tool. Make sure to remove all tools and everything from around the engine bay so you don't close anything on it. Alright, we got the two screws down here to attach this to the bracket. So let's do that. 2 screws, 12 millimeters. Sorry, not 12, 10. I'm gonna start it with my hand. Don't have to make it too tight, just enough. All right, we have both screws in place. Let's tighten this up. Remember, it was marked, so put it back to that mark and then tighten it up. This was 8 millimeter. All right, place the air filter. There's clips here. Don't forget to put this bar back in the clips. Be careful so you don't break it. All right, that clipped. All right, everything is buttoned up. I gotta put the filter covers on. Then we should be ready to rock on the top cover of the intake, of course. Do a final check to make sure everything's in place, nothing's missing, and we're good to go. Put your hose back in there. Alright, do overview. Those are back, tops are back. This is tightened, sensors back. This is put in, clamps put in. That's tightened on that side. Holes put back in. Belts, of course. 2 screws for this is in there. That's it. Let's just put the cover. Finisciotto. I don't even know that's a word. Finished. All right, YouTube, we finished installing the belts for the Maserati Ghibli. Wasn't that hard. The only thing was hard was the alternator though. That was kind of hard. I didn't have the right breaker bar, so I had to go get one of those. But aside from that, it is definitely a DIY job. You can do it, save some money, learn your car. And thank you for checking out this video. If you enjoyed it, brought you value, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. Click the notifications to get more videos like this. And see you next time.